All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regular scheduled January 22nd meeting to order. I have no changes to the published agenda. I do want to recognize the absence of Commissioner Coleman and Commissioner Maison. They're just not available tonight, but nothing's wrong. They'll be back with us shortly. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as was published? I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, a second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Let's invite Pastor Armin Lowry and soon to be City of Newberry employee. Let's get the sermon, and then we're going to spend just a minute recognizing Pastor Lowry's service to the City of Newberry and updating everybody on his future plans. Pastor Lowry.
Let's all bow our heads. Lord God, we thank you for allowing us to be here on tonight and for the purpose that we're here to conduct city business. We thank you for our life, our health, and our strength, Lord. We thank you for the leaders of this city, the mayor, as well as the dais. And we just pray that you bless all of us tonight as we continue to move forward and do what you have called us to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing for the pledge. Commissioner Clark. I didn't even recognize it right there. I'm so used to.
There's a flag right there.
I can use that flag there.
Yeah, there we go. Set it up there.
The flag's not part of the crowd. Well,
we'll do this now. Yeah, there we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That threw me off. Now, Pastor Lowry, we appreciate that invocation and years of faithful prayer for this community. And I'm not sure if the commissioners are aware, but Pastor Lowry is going to be moving to join his mother and take care of his mother. So his last week is next week. I thought I had 3 months, so I'm going to get on that letter a little quicker. Because it turned out I had three weeks. But we are going to miss you, sir. We appreciate everything that you've done for the city, both for the city and for the spiritual community in the city. Pastor Lowry was instrumental in helping reconvene the Newberry Ministerial Association. So we wish you all the best. And I've been promised that you're going to be coming back on somewhat of a regular basis to give some guest sermons at Fresh Wind, Mount Zura. So we do wish you well. Okay, and with that, we'll move to our first item under presentations, which is proclamation calling a regular election on April 9, 2024. I am bound by state law to read this in its entirety, so bear with me. This is under and by virtue of the power vested in me as mayor of the city of Newberry, Florida. A general election is hereby called to be held in the city of Newberry, Florida on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024 for the following purpose. That's Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. We are calling this election for the purpose of electing 3 city commissioners. Group 1, city commissioner to serve a 2-year term. Group 2, city commissioner to serve a 2-year term. Group 3, city commissioner to serve a 2-year term. The election shall be held at the City of Newberry Mentally Northfleet Municipal Building, Precinct 6, located at 25420 West Newberry Road, Newberry, Florida, and the polls shall be open at 7 a.m. on said day and close at 7 p.m. on said day. The clerks, deputy, and inspectors of said election are as follows. We have Ms. Fleda Harris as our clerk, Valerie Fuldoir as the assistant clerk, Thomas Oliphant as the ballot scanner, Pat McElroy as EVID. I don't know what that means, but I'm EVID, electric check-in. Allison McLean as EVID, Loretta Shane as EVID, Ronald Osborne as our deputy, Karen Polk as EVID, and Thaddeus Dobraki as an alternate. The candidate qualifying period begins at noon on Monday, February 12th. That's noon at Monday, February 12th, and ends at noon on Thursday, February 15th. Candidates for the municipal election shall qualify for office with City Clerk Judy Rice by appointment by calling 352-472-2446 or emailing jrice@newberryfl.gov. Qualifying fee, city commissioner groups are $140. Final day of voter registration book closing for municipal election. The voter registration books of the city of Newberry, Florida will be closed at 5 p.m. on Monday, March 11th, 2024. Given under my hand and official seal of the city of Newberry, Florida, this 22nd day of 2024. Are there any questions about the election proclamation that we just read into the record? Madam Clerk?
And the calendar.
And the
You
calendar?
don't have to read the calendar.
Oh, and the calendar, which we read in. Okay. Any public questions about the election proclamation we just read in? Hearing none. Thank you, Miss Judy and Miss Janine, for all the work that goes into getting us ready for that. We appreciate it. And now our second presentation is law enforcement update. Mike, are you giving an introduction to Sheriff Gainey, or are you letting Sheriff Gainey come up here and introduce himself?
Mr. Mayor, I am happy to introduce Sheriff
All
Gainey
right.
to the commission. Annually, the sheriff's office has provided the commission with updates on the last year's worth of law enforcement services. As you know, we've been in a contract for law enforcement services since back into 2017. But now 3 sheriffs ago, this is Sheriff Gainey's first address before the city commission, and I think he advised me that it would be rather informal, but just want to give you the updates on things with them and their service within our city limits. So with that, I will introduce Sheriff Gainey. Mayor Marlowe.
Come on down, Sheriff.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you for coming
Commissioners,
out here.
Mr. Manager, thank you. I appreciate that. It's always great to be here. Stood before this dais many years ago as the Chief Deputy when Sheriff Ulrich is in, so it's good to be back. Try to start out a little bit because I ran into a couple of folks out in Newberry here who thought I was living in Tallahassee and just moved back to Alachua County. Well, the news is I'm born and raised in Alachua County. Spent all my life here, went to Tallahassee. The intent was to go for one term, 4 years. I worked for Bill McCollum in the Attorney General's office. Well, 13 years and 3 Attorneys Generals later, I came back home and figured I had enough. So what I thought I'll start here is introduce
Can
my
I
staff.
interrupt you just one second there,
Yes,
Sheriff?
sir.
Now, in that 13-year prison sentence up there in Tallahassee, they didn't
That's
convert you
probably
to an FSU, did you? They didn't?
Well, the first thing I did upon arrival, I had a big picture of the swamp that Jeremy Foley had signed, and I put it on my back wall. So we staked our
I appreciate
territory.
it. We don't take kindly to FSU fans.
No. They did accuse me.
Around
Unfortunately, I had a maroon truck before I left here, so they accused me of that, but we got them straight. So I want to introduce my staff that's here with us. Sergeant Kinsey, Public Information Officer. Chief of Staff Morehouse is here with us. Major Cloutier, Department of Jail, and next to him is Deputy Director Swallows, also at the jail. Deputy Director Whitworth is in the back there. Major Scott is here with us. Major Bessinger is here with us. And Major Anderson, he tries to hide. He's my internal affairs and accreditation guy that's on there. And Deputy Acosta there is in the back with us as well. So glad to have the team out. So again, as the manager mentioned, what I thought I would do is tell you about a few significant calls that occurred in the last year, and then give you some stats on some general calls here in the city, and then a little bit comparison countywide, and then try to leave some time for questions that you may have or the audience may have that we can try to answer for you. So I'll run through these relatively fast. So in September 23, our deputies responded to a person shot upon 235, made contact with the victim, and the individual we believe was a suspect. Despite those two and other folks around, no one would identify the individual who did the shooting. So unfortunately, there was no charges filed on that, even though we are relatively comfortable that we know who did it, but no one would admit to it for whatever reason. In March, unfortunately, there was a sexual battery involving a juvenile. That case developed probable cause, and the suspect was arrested, charged with 2 counts of sexual battery. We had a narcotics investigation where an individual was believed to be responsible and proven later for a very wide distribution of narcotics here in Newberry. What's called our action team, they conducted multiple search warrants, arrested 3 individuals, some of those family members. They recovered 470 grams of marijuana, 33 grams of fentanyl, that's really significant, 67.8 grams of cocaine, 570 grams of substitute cathinol, excuse me, 9 grams of mushrooms, $13,870 in cash, and 3 illegal firearms.
And of course, those individuals were arrested. Had a fatal overdose that also occurred here in Newberry. While doing that investigation, the individual, the deputies found out that there's an individual specifically who's responsible for supplying fentanyl to the deceased. After a series of controlled buys and search warrants, we were to arrest the individual and charge him indictment for murder. There they also seized 55.3 grams of cocaine, a little over 3 grams of fentanyl, 38 grams of marijuana, about $3,000 in currency. And the last one of significance, in December, as is always the case, unfortunately, we have those that like to go shopping on your dime. So we had a porch pirate over in Country Way. Deputies stopped him, removed some packages in the car with the labels cut off. After the investigation was completed, realized he had hit multiple houses and was stealing packages from here in Newberry off porches as well. So within the city of Newberry, for 2023, there's a total of 5,983 calls. We classify everything as a call we do. If it's a traffic stop, if it's a call, if it's a suspicious person, if we're assisting a citizen, it's all a call. So when I say those, that's inclusive of all those. So some of highlight, 732 of those were traffic stops. There were 7 stolen vehicles, 54 domestic violence calls, and we still having a problem with domestic violence throughout the county. 29 of those are domestic battery, 118 traffic crashes, and a lot of times we'll turn some of those over to FHP, but we'll initially respond to them. 121 juvenile-related problems. Increased patrols, when we, particularly you call in or the deputies take the initiative, provide increased patrols around businesses and neighborhoods for a certain reason, 2,267 of those. And to put that in a little bit of perspective, countywide, there was 83,617 calls, and that's just the sheriff's office. Obviously, it didn't include calls that other police departments around the county respond to. Of those, 230 stolen vehicles in this county in 2023. 848 burglaries, 472 of those are cars. And I want to point that out. That's significant because a lot of stolen firearms come out of cars. And unfortunately, a lot of times folks don't lock the cars. They leave firearms in there unsecure. Not a great thing because the folks who typically steal those firearms don't do it in a legal way. They're going to use them in some type of illegal activity. So we encourage folks, please remove your firearms from the cars if you can, or if you must keep them there, try to, they got a lot of great safes. You can bolt in those cars and put them in a lockable safe to not make it easy for those individuals. 132 armed disturbances countywide, 1,307 domestic violences. As I mentioned, that's still a problem. 560 domestic batteries, 2,001 alarms. That's from burglar alarms to lifeline alarms to panic alarms, robberies, etc. We had 10 persons shot in that time period in 2023. 75 death threats were made. 179 death investigations. Now, some of those are natural deaths, unattended deaths, and things of that sort. It's not necessarily criminal or homicidal that's there. That we also did in that time frame. So let's talk about a little bit the sheriff's office. So when I got here in October, we took a look at our staffing. We had 248 openings at that time. That is 26% of the entire sheriff's office. So first and foremost, every opportunity I get, I like to acknowledge the men and women that were there because they are working overtime, they're working days off, they're committed to ensure services are provided, the men and women at the Department of Jail, making sure that inmates are safe, their fellow correction officers are safe, and the public is safe. So they have put in and continue to put in an awful lot of overtime as we try to hire folks to fill those positions. And they've done a great job. Fact of the matter is, the Sheriff's Office has 3 accreditations, one in our communications, one in our jail, and one for law enforcement. The jail was first. They had 262 standards this year. passed every single one of them with flying colors, despite being short, because that's a dedication to the men and women that work out at that facility. Our communications also passed with flying colors. We've had our review for our law enforcement, and while we don't have the official letter yet, the indication is that we will fully pass that as well. We'll have that answer in a month or so. That's out there. So one of the biggest issues we're seeing countywide, we talked about them. Shootings. There's been quite a number of those around the county, majority of them in the city of Gainesville for whatever reason. We know that some of those are some rival gangs and some retaliation, but needs to say we're losing lives and people getting shot here in our county. So we know that collectively we all got to work together to do something about it. The unfortunate part, and talking to Chief Scott a couple of months ago and hadn't really changed, he's also down 56 officers in the city of Gainesville. University was down a few as well, so everybody's working short staff. I talked about domestic violence calls, still a problem. Obviously, we have folks that work with our domestic violence centers and other organizations in town, and we'll continue to do that to try to figure out ways to reduce that crime as well. Traffic is a problem. I know you probably see it out here like everywhere else. Here's the unfortunate part. When I left here in 2007, we had 3 traffic squads, 5 people each, 3 sergeants and a lieutenant, so 19 total people. Today I have 4 individuals assigned to traffic and a supervisor, and Major Bessinger tell me in any given day one of those 4 is pulled to work a zone. So that's one of the areas we're extremely short as we start this hiring that we know we got to get back up. So those 3 men and women that's on there do a lot of work all throughout the county. Narcotics violations, I know you see them in the news. Unfortunately, our county is no different. We seem to be seeing more and more of it, and we start talking about fentanyl and carfentanil and those things, extremely dangerous stuff. When I was sheriff down in Marion County in 2016, my narcotics unit hit a mobile home down there that we suspected was drug dealing, and fentanyl was pretty new back then, so they didn't know as much about it. I had 3 officers go down from breathing that stuff in. Fortunately, they were okay because we had Narcan on us and recovered them, but literally walking into the place causes problems with people in law enforcement as well. Talked about accreditation, so I'll give you some hiring stats, then I will stop and entertain any questions. So what have we done since we've been here in the last 4 months? We've hired 104 people. It's out there. Now, we've had 38 that leave, either do terminations or retirements or things of that sort. So that's net 66 out of that 248. So we recognize we still have a lot of work to do, but we are being aggressive about it. We put together a recruitment team between them and our HR and a lot of our men and women. They're going out. I challenge them everywhere you go. Invite someone to come to work for us. A restaurant, you know it. I know Manager New told me to stop coming over to Newberry looking for employees, but we'll have to talk about that. But we're working hard to do that, so we're very proud of that. Our biggest areas of increase is our communication center. There's 17 hired there, jail at 22, and law enforcement at 22. Now, just to put that a little bit in perspective, when they're sworn members that already had certifications by the state of Florida, and a lot of those that worked for us before that came back to work from other agencies, they get to go to work pretty quickly. But when they're new recruits who we got to put through the law enforcement school and training, they won't be useful to us for 9 months that's out there. So while we have some of those on the books that we talked about, they really aren't functional right now. And that's assuming they pass everything. As is with anything, occasionally we'll lose 5 or 10% during the course of that time that they're in school. But we continue to recruit. If you know of people that looking for a job, please send them our way. We're looking for them. We want to hire them. It's a Alachua County. We can't quite pay what some of the other counties are paying around the state, but we do start deputy sheriffs here at $50,000, including detention offices. Our communication folks are just under 40 starting. Of course, you've got a little bit of experience. We can add a little bit of that, about 10% to 15% to that starting salary as well. There's some recruitment bonuses that come from the state. If you're from out of state, $5,000 or $8,000 that we'll pay as an incentive to come here as well for certain positions that's there. So, Mr. Mayor, I think I'll stop there and entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. That was very thorough and informative. Questions from the board? Commissioner Clark?
I don't really have a question. I would like to say that I met Sheriff Gainey out at the Publix groundbreaking, and we talked about our substation that we owed you, and it looks like email from Mike that we got things moving forward.
Yes, sir, and we're very appreciative of that. We've been working with the manager on that, and we're looking forward to it. And
We
we're
want
first
a
to
ribbon cutting when that happens.
We'll
Go out
definitely
there
have
and
one.
celebrate.
Yes, I'm going to have one this week. Deborah Butler and her dad, who's long passed, we're good friends for years, so they're giving us a space over in the Southwest and her shopping center. That's going to help us tremendously. So obviously having a space out here will be a great help, so we're very, very much appreciative of that, know that it's in the works, and look forward to opening it up.
Other? Commissioner Martin?
No, sir.
No?
I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Oh, were you done?
I just say appreciate what the sheriff's department does as a whole for us.
Well, Sheriff, I did have just a couple of questions. Newberry recognized the opioid and fentanyl crisis going on in our own backyard all the way back in 2018, and we formed an opioid task force to begin seeing what we could do and raising awareness right here in our community. Since then, that task force has led a county-wide task force that has 5 cities as a partnership, the Children's Trust is a partner, and the Alachua County Commission that will soon be a partner to that. But one of the pillars of our movement is to really invest and spread RAD kids. We know that ASO has been a long supporter of RAD
yes.
kids, so I'd just like to, while the camera's on, right, I'd like to hear your thoughts about RAD kids, or whether that's something that you want to continue doing. If it's a financial issue, we just need to know that, because we've got lots of people out there that want to make sure that every elementary school is a RAD kid school. We see that as a holistic approach to teaching kids how to say no, how to understand that they have the right to say no, defend themselves, run away from the situation. So what are your thoughts on RAD Kids? You like that program?
Unequivocally. It's a great program. Our folks are doing a great job with it. And again, like other things, if we can ever get our staffing back up, there's a few areas I want to put some more investment in. That's definitely one of them we want to consider without a doubt. And while we didn't have RAD Kids way back when I was in middle school, I remember sitting in the classroom at Westwood Middle School, and they're talking about the dangers of drugs, and that stuck with me. And it got my attention, and you managed to stay away from them. So I think anything that we can do to try to discourage young people from ever getting involved is to our benefit, because all of us see the results of those who do, and unfortunately a lot of them are not pretty. Just today, we responded to, got a text from the majors about a 40-year-old who lost their life on their drug overdose here in the county. So unfortunately, it's a terrible, terrible situation, and let me tell you, it affects everybody. It's not a race that's not touched. Whether your finances are great and you're a multimillionaire or you're barely making it, it touched those families. So everybody's been touched, unfortunately, by this proliferation of dangerous drugs in our communities.
I agree. And this commission funded a RAD Kids class last summer that trained 17 coaches all around the county, and we're hoping to just expand on that.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask, I've got some reports lately from folks who believe that they're smelling a meth lab. And the problem is, by the time I can get there, it's cleared out. What's the best way to get an officer, how to handle that? How do we get someone right there so that we can track that down?
If you give us the suspected location, it's going to be one of Major Scott's area, and we'll get some folks, and we'll do what we do quietly and see what we can find out.
All right, I'll make that happen. And that's Major Scott.
Yes.
To get that. On the traffic squads, I know that you're still trying to fill that, but that's probably the request I get the most. Right? We got neighborhoods, people
Yes.
are coming through, they're not stopping at the stop signs. I get requests all the time to set up at certain places. But I don't want to abuse your deputies. So, what is a way that we can get a few of those sprinkled 3-4 times throughout the year? And what would be ideal from my standpoint is if we could just kind of get it on a regiment where it's not really community driven. We just know we've got some problem areas, and once every other month we got to go and stop. And I'm not asking to hand out a bunch of tickets, but maybe pull some people over, give them some warnings, that kind of a thing. Is that a Major Scott?
That's a Major Messenger.
That's a Major Messenger. Okay, Major Messenger.
He's got patrol operations. Talk to him. As we mentioned, we are hearing it all over the county, and these guys heard me say it at every meeting I've been at. So obviously, I have an unmarked car, a black Tahoe that I drive around, and I live over by Archer and 122nd. So by the time I come up Archer, cut through 63rd, on Williston, I have people fly by me every single day. We're not talking about 4 or 5 miles per hour. Unfortunately, traffic in this county has just gotten increasingly worse. Obviously, we've
Cars
got more
keep getting
residents.
faster.
Oh, absolutely. So it's a problem, and it's one that we recognize. Again, I haven't looked at some of the other units, like, again, Major Scott with his investigative group. They were down 2/3 of their staff when I got here. So I know I've got to work on some of those areas first, so traffic's probably not that first need, but as quickly as we can get folks hired, we know that's a problem countywide. We got to get back, as far as I'm concerned, eventually to at least 3 squads, but that's going to take us a while. But yes, Major Bessinger can get you on the list. You did say one thing that I smiled a little bit about, speeding in neighborhoods. What we have found when we come out and write those tickets, they're your neighbors. They're speeding in neighborhoods. I had a school board complain one year over off Southwest 24th Avenue about people speeding through the neighborhood and passing school buses, and we went out and rode a whole bunch of school buses that was going well over the speed limit as well.
I had the same chuckle. You got to be careful what you wish for.
Yes, sir.
Major, did you bring any cards that you could maybe distribute to the commission so we can cut through the website to find you? But
Yeah.
other than that, Sheriff, thank you for coming out. Thank you for participating in the Publix groundbreaking and all those community events. We appreciate the update, and to all of your officers, we appreciate the work that you guys are doing, because we all need you, and we out in Newberry, we support you.
Well, thank you all for your partnerships. It's been a great partnership from many years ago. Like I said, just under 40 years in this business, most of that working here, except for those 13 years I was gone. And always had great partnerships out in Newberry and other smaller communities. We appreciate that tremendously. Speaking of the Publix groundbreaking, I spent most of the day in Tallahassee walking the halls of legislatures. And one of the things I was proud to say, Newberry's getting the largest Publix in Alachua County. So I got to say that a number of times, and they were quite happy. So really looking forward to the improvements you guys are doing, the plans you have out in the city of Newberry. As you know, I got quite a number of deputies who live out this way. We're proud that they do and proud of the work that they do.
Maybe too. We hope to keep giving you lots to brag on up there in Tallahassee.
Well,
So,
perfect.
Thank you guys so much, and as a special bonus, you don't have to stay till the end of the night.
Thank you all.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yeah, I want to thank the Sheriff's Department also. I mean, they've done a tremendous job. Lucky for us, the county commission been putting in more potholes to help with the speeding problems.
Well, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. The unfortunate part of that, unlike you and other citizens who drive, that means I'm paying for a lot of alignments because, our cars run a little fast sometimes to get places, and they're hitting those same potholes. So it's costing us money.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank y'all so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that comes to public announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, your commission likes to hear from you frequently and often. We don't want to make you wait, so we set aside the 2-minute section for public announcements. At the beginning of the meeting, if anybody wants to introduce themselves again, or they got Lions Club business they want to share, anything like that, come on down.
Hi, my name is Jen Garrett. I'm running for County Commission District 3. I'm introducing myself again because Commissioner Martin and Mayor Marlowe were not here last time, although I already know y'all. So, but I did want to just come up and give you an update. I've had the pleasure of meeting so many wonderful residents in Newberry. In particular, I'm so interested in your Main Street program, and I've connected the Main Street director with some folks at UF who are interested in doing research, and hopefully something will come of that the city of Newberry can use, particularly as the State Road 26 split comes up in the next couple of years. I think that's going to be an exciting project, and one that hopefully some students at UF will be interested in researching for you and giving you more information. Please feel free to reach out to me if there's something that I can help with now, even though I have not been elected yet. The best way to reach me is at JenGarrettCampaign.com. That's 2 N's, 2 R's, 2 T's. Or you can also find me on the socials, Facebook, Jen Garrett, 2 N's, 2 R's, 2 T's. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming out. I had a great meeting with you earlier. Love to hear all about the campaign and what you're up to. Any other public announcements? Come on down, sir.
My name's Shane Carter. I'm a realtor with Watson Realty, but I'm here because I'm also on the public policy board for the GACR, for all the realtors. I'll be reporting back to them on some of the things that are going on. I'm a resident of Archer, so I go to their meetings. I'll be coming to your guys as we're really interested in what you guys are doing together as well.
Well, you came to the perfect
Yeah,
meeting.
exactly. I came to the perfect meeting for that. There'll be a couple of us you'll see coming and going. We have 1,200 realtors around here in our association, so we're really interested in what's going on. And if you guys need anything from us, please let us know. Okay?
Well, we appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Your title, Mr. Shane?
I'm a realtor with Watson Realty, and I'm on the public policy committee with GACR.
That's what I got.
Any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published? I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth,
Second.
second from Commissioner Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to move us to item 7, which is an interlocal agreement between the City of Newberry and the City of Archer for provision of wastewater treatment and disposal services. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an historic moment. And we should have like a confetti or something here. We'll plan on that next time. When it's built, we'll do the confetti. All right, Mr. Manager, take it away and tell us what we have accomplished here with our sister city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are technology handicapped tonight, so I regret to inform you that the 124-slide presentation that I've been working on for 2 months to get right, we had appropriately, at the mayor's request, made it 9-pitch font, which you're all used to in our presentations. No images to get it down to 124 slides, and then our file server failed, and so you just got to listen to me try to wing it.
Now we know exactly what happened to that file.
As the mayor said, this is what I consider to be a historic moment. I would tell you that these types of partnerships between communities don't happen that frequently, if of course our board moves forward, but previous indications, as we've discussed the potential of a partnership and a regional wastewater plant, our board has been supportive of that idea. They've said go out and try to make it happen with other communities, and I'm happy to report that at present, the City of Archer is interested in partnering with us in the development of a wastewater treatment plant that it would be an expansion on the City of Newberry site. I'm going to do my best to weave through what I consider to be some important details just to make sure we got enough data into the information into the record, but try definitely not to bore anyone. But we've been negotiating an interlocal agreement for probably more than 3 years, exploring the concept. I feel a little bit like an Amway salesman running around to communities and knocking on doors, and we have the key to your financial future. So we've been often received like an Amway salesman, I'll admit, but not so in Archer, because we've been working on a planned expansion in Newberry for a little over 4 years. Jamie's and our staff have known that it was imminent for the entire time he's been here, but we got it started in earnest about 4 years ago with a planning study, got that completed, and now we are into the design. The design is at 95% today, wrapping up, and we'll be soliciting bids within the next 30 days or so. And then move into about a 2-year construction phase, all poised at getting complete by a deadline in our operating permit of March 2026. So we have an administrative order in our permit that says, hey, you got to have a new treatment plant online in 2026, and everything we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years has been pointed at making that. What we're trying to do with that, we have plenty of capacity in our plant today, although with our growth rate, we need to plan for more. But there are new state regulations that have come down the pipes that have to do with nutrients and have to do with how we dispose of biosolids. Those laws are in effect today, and they become effective for the City of Newberry and our wastewater plant in April of 2026. So we've got to get out in front of it, and it's a daunting task if it takes, this much effort to remove the normal pollutants from wastewater, which I would characterize as solids and carbon. If it takes $1 to remove that, it takes $4 to remove nutrients. It's just a more expensive process, but it is preventing those nutrients from getting into groundwater and surface water and causing any degradation of the environment within the state of Florida. So that's what's behind it all. And we've seen, and it's caused our treatment costs to more than double. When this project started back in 2021, based on all the data that was out there of people that are building wastewater plants every day, we expected to pay some $22 to $25 per gallon per day of treatment capacity. And your utility director, Jamie, and I marveled because both Jamie and I could remember when we built wastewater plants for $2 a gallon. And man, we must be getting old if it's 10 times as expensive some 30 years into our career as it was when we started. And then over the short 4-year period, those costs have gone from $25 a gallon up to $50 a gallon today. And we realize that even a responsible community like Newberry, and we have been responsible financially, we set aside funding from every bill that we send out to plan for expanding our treatment plant. We collect a robust capital facilities charge from every new building start that happens in our community, so that we can pay for a plant expansion. And but seeing a treatment plant that's ultimately going to cost the taxpayers, the ratepayers of Newberry, some $55 to $60 million, that's eyebrow raising. And so we knew, and the commission knew early on, that we're going to need some funding partners. And we started down the process that if we get more folks and have higher flow, that there are economies of scale that will happen, and that we will be able to have a lower cost per gallon for construction, and that we can benefit our residents and the residents of any of the partners that we're able to develop along the way. The city of Archer has been seeking wastewater treatment facilities for more than 20 years, and I can say that with authority because 20 years ago I sat in on a panel and discussed it with their, at the time, city commission and their city manager. And we had discussions about how they would proceed that, whether they'd build their own treatment plant or whether they might pump sewage to Gainesville, where it be treated by GRU, or pump sewage to Newberry, where it might be treated by Newberry, and that's long before I was a Newberry employee. So the city of Archer, over the last 5 years, has been really studying this, and they've determined that they'd like to build a wastewater system in 2 phases. They'd like to build their collection system in phase 1, where they put in all the gravity sewer pipe and the manholes and pumping stations to collect it from their residences and from their businesses, but wait until some period of time down the road, maybe after they've paid off the debt service for their collection system, to build a central wastewater plant in Archer. So their plan for phase 1 was to build this collection system and then pump it to a sister city like Newberry or Gainesville, and I think over time they felt like that Newberry might be the best partner for them to move forward on. So when we started having conversations with them and asked them about how much capacity would you need in a treatment plant, they indicated to us they'd need about 175,000 gallons per day of treatment plant capacity, and that converts to about 700 units. And today they have 400 to 500 units, so that gives them the ability to hook up every resident, every home in Archer today, and then and have room for growth in the future. That growth would then pay for expansion of their wastewater system so that they can handle more and more growth. A process that the city of Newberry went through sometime back in the 1970s, when most of us were still thinking about it, but the chair of the commission was present tonight. I'm kidding. But so the city of Archer signed up for 175,000 gallons per day worth of capacity, and Jamie and our wastewater team determined that the city of Newberry, the appropriate number for us to expand to was about 1 million gallons per day, which would be double our existing capacity, and that would get us 20 to 30 years worth of growth potential. Our current flows today are 300,000 gallons today, right about half of our current capacity, which is 500,000 gallons per day. And Jamie has set aside for us, projected for us, that we need about 1 million gallons per day of additional capacity, and that should get us in about the 20-year range. So 15 years from now, this commission will be thinking about that next expansion and advising staff on how they want to proceed with that. In terms of how the interlocal agreement works together, the City of Archer, like everybody, will pay for capacity up front. You know, everybody that walks in and gets a building permit from us, we charge them a capital facilities charge. And we'll do the same with the City of Archer. Once we understand the total cost, we have estimates today, but once we understand those total costs, we'll divide the total treatment plant capacity, come up with a unit charge, and we'll multiply it times $175,000, and that will be what City of Archer would pay for capacity. We should know that right after the bids are in, and those prices are known in spring of this year. We estimate that that's about $10 million for 175,000 gallons worth of capacity. So they'll pay for that capacity up front, and then they'll pay a monthly charge based on the number of gallons that we treat. So the rate that they will be paying for those that monthly treatment is 70% of Newberry's retail rate. So you know that we amend our rates by something between 0.5% and 3% annually. To make sure we stay with the times and keep up with inflation. We do that evaluation each year. We'll communicate that to Archer, and what they pay on a monthly basis will be 70% of that charge on a per 1,000-gallon basis. And from that is, to the best of our ability to calculate, ensures that the City of Newberry doesn't subsidize the City of Archer, and that it's a fair and equitable charge for them, and vice versa, that Archer's residents are not subsidizing Newberry or Newberry's residents. The difference between the 70% is essentially the cost to collect and convey the sewage through the City of Newberry's collection system. So that's why there's a differential in what they pay on a wholesale basis versus what our customers pay on a retail basis. And they'll be making up the difference because their collection system will have operating costs. They'll meter, they'll send bills of that nature. I would imagine that their wastewater costs will be very similar to ours. And the rest of this regions, you know that our rates are competitive, but no one's really out of line. If you look around the region, we're all pretty close to one another because we're all kind of facing the same challenges in treating wastewater. So, Mr. Mayor, that's kind of a long example of what's in the of how we got to where we are with this interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement was negotiated with our staffs, and with both staffs hired outside counsel. Since our city attorney is also the city attorney for Archer, it was determined that that it would be a conflict of interest for them to participate in this. So they've kind of stood on the sideline and are aware of what's going on, but have not weighed in and formally provided input to the agreements. So I would tell you that this agreement that is used as the basis for ours is well used around the state of Florida. It's probably at least the 20th time that it's been used, some version of it, and that the attorneys that were working on it, both on our behalf and Archer's, are very well rounded in this arena. They've each done it more than one time and are experts in it, so they don't have to renew the language. They offered things to us that come out of other negotiations to come up with what we consider to be very fair agreement. And again, not the first time this agreement's been used. It's been very well vetted over the last decade. The City of Archer City Commission heard this in December and discussed it, and then decided not to take action on it at their first hearing, but they had a second hearing in January, and they voted unanimously to authorize their mayor to execute the interlocal agreement. And staff's recommended action is to authorize our mayor to execute the interlocal agreement to provide wastewater services wastewater treatment and disposal services to the city of Archer through this interlocal agreement. That concludes my presentation, all 124 slides worth, and I'm available for questions if you have any.
Questions, Commissioner Martin?
I didn't have any question, Mike, per se, but I know this has been a long time coming. I appreciate the value that the city of Archer is bringing to the table along with us, and I think it'll be great for both of us to be able to move this forward, and I don't know that either of us could do it alone. So hats off to them and for us getting this finally to the finish line, but I guess we have some ink to get it across.
Absolutely. And Mr. Mayor, I failed to introduce Mayor Iris Bailey from Archer and City Manager Tony Hammond from Archer, who have spent many long hours through meetings discussing this and making sure that it was well vetted and that everybody's interests were taken into account in this process. They're in the audience tonight. Yep.
Thank y'all.
Madam Mayor, would you like to come down and say anything? We don't put you on the spot. I would after the vote.
Let me see what you have to say.
Oh, okay. Well, I echo everything that Commissioner Martin just said. Anybody else want to join? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Mike, this has nothing to do with the agreement. Do you know if Archer has impact fees?
I can answer that. I think Manager Hammond is best to answer that. Well, they may not have them in place today, but they're utilizing the same program that the city of Newberry uses. This is the state's revolving fund loan program. And the Department of the State that administers those funds, it's in their agreement to obtain the funds that you will have a program for recouping those costs through impact fees or through capital facilities charges, whatever you want to name them. You don't get the money from the state of Florida unless they have assurances that you're going to be able to make your debt service payment.
Now, the High Springs decided not to come in with us, and there was some talk at one time about possibly Trenton.
High Springs is actually still on the table.
Oh, they are?
They're just looking at a little bit later entry timeline,
Okay.
which is completely feasible with the way that Jamie has designed the facility.
We had talked about Trenton, and is there any possibility about
Trent stole
Bronson?
our idea.
Trenton is in need of a partnership, and after careful analysis with their consulting firm, determined that partnering up with Fanning Springs would be a better opportunity for them, and so they're going to utilize the same exact concept with a different partner. It's just a lower cost for their residents.
What about Bronson?
Bronson, when we discussed it with them, was just not sure that they wanted to go there, and we've never really picked up the ball. I would agree that they're the very next candidate that we would look at hard, or would look at this regional partnership hard. We're the closest venture to them that could provide this level of service. I think probably the community that has the most discussion with us about potential is Fort White, but the distance between us and Fort White is likely prohibitive. They probably have a better partner in going to Lake City or Columbia County, but I think they share a similar relationship with Columbia County that we might share with Alachua County, and so they're looking for another business partner that they feel a higher level of comfort with, but nothing serious from either. I think, again, the proximity to Fort White just makes it where it's not going to be cost effective.
I think what will happen with Bronson and Trenton is in 3 to 5 years, if they fail to advance the projects, they'll probably come back to us, because our team is going to make sure this happens by 2026.
Correct.
They'll see that, and they'll say, well, we've got to be with somebody who's moving the ball forward, right? So, any other thoughts, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, well, I will say thanks to Archer for coming aboard with us and
Absolutely.
making this a partnership, and it will make Archer absolutely get on the map big time. When that comes. And Mike, I reckon for the city, whether it's you or him or the manager or the mayor, the potential for Archer is a lot of commercial. And even though we were talking about the 700 homes, is there potential later on to up the capacity for Archer if we needed to? If they come online with more?
Correct. And when we talk about capacity, they really have discretion there. We're saying that 175,000 gallons per day will handle the flow from 700 homes, but it could be 2 businesses as well. So that's what they have. Our interlocal agreement provides for the purchasing of additional capacity if it's available, and if they want to pay the capacity charges that go along with it. It also, in terms of a true partnership, it also provides for, well, if things don't work out in Archer or Newberry like we thought, we could swap capacity by paying the other for it, and we could obtain additional capacity from Archer, or vice versa, and delay, rather than have a gun to our head that we have to have an expansion done by X, no, the other community has a few gallons to spare. That'll buy us 2 more years and will save us the cost of money. So we're going to swap a little capacity and extend our timeline on when we can construct a new expansion to the treatment plant a little bit of time. So there are many potential good outcomes that can come from a partnership like this. The ability to swap capacity is at the top of that list.
And Mike, I'm forgetting the name that you and Jamie used, but the way the plan is designed is like rail cars or something.
Jamie uses the term trains, but it's modular.
Right.
So normally when you build a treatment facility, it is not one facility. They'll have multiple trains so that if something goes wrong in one facility, you're not dead in the water. You just close that facility down and you divert the flow to the next trains. So we have designed a plant that will have 3 trains today, and probably 4th could be added, but you're constructing 2 trains. So as soon as, it's just like the expansion at City Hall, the expandability of City Hall, when it comes time to expand the treatment plant, we won't go through 5 years worth of analysis. We'll pull out a set of plans and put it out to bid that we're just ready to build the 3rd train that was designed 10 years ago by our staff.
Lots of flexibility for both Newberry and for Archer. So if there are no other comments, I add my praise to how much time and work and effort went into this. Thank you, Manager New. Thank you, Manager Tony. We appreciate you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please extend that. I have a motion from Commissioner Martin. Second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments, questions on the dais on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously, and if we could, because I think we will have future commissioners looking back saying thank you, could we invite the managers and the mayor come up here, and Dallas, would you grab a quick photo of this moment? We'll just take a break. No, Commissioner, everybody come up. Everybody that's sad. I didn't wear a jacket.
Far East tour, buddy. That's a man floating 72 coming from now.
Monty, you're wasting away. There you are.
Put the 2 of you,
Good year.
put the 2 layers in the middle.
Come on, Madam Mayor, join us here.
All right,
And you're good. There we go. You got everybody there? I was running away.
You're not on this one.
Yeah. Turn the lights on,
Is it center back?
above their heads.
Do we need to shift that way? That way?
No, you're good. I got you.
I gotta tell you, you smell so much better than the rest of us. We do these pictures now,
I'm supposed to.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Watch your head there on that TV. I think they're trying to take me out.
Send me the picture.
I will, yep. As soon as Dallas texts it to me. Thank you so much. And actually, I should have asked, I think the stormwater assessment program is not a time sensitive, and we probably want a full dais here. Why don't we table that to a future date for conversation? Do I have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
I have a motion to table from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Comments, question on the motion on the floor? Public comments, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. That takes us to comments. City manager. Caught you off guard. Said, how did we get here?
Mr. Mayor, you can see the carefully crafted comments list that I normally would have done in the next presentation. Mr. Mayor, just a reminder to the commission that we have our State of the City address that's coming up later in the month, but it is not going to be on Thursday the 15th. It's been moved to Tuesday the 13th. So please get the word out. The invitations are in today, so we'll get them distributed. And if you guys would help us get the word out, it will be our best State of the City ever. That's guaranteed. I've been sitting in on the staff meetings, the planning meetings, to really have a nice program planned. And then, this is our first meeting since the public's groundbreaking, right? Do I get to brag on that, or our second meeting?
I've lost track of the PNC.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Let's brag anyway. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, we had a fabulous groundbreaking for our Publix event, which it certainly exceeded expectations. It was a word of mouth, so we got a little bit of feedback that, well, how come I didn't get an invitation? And the truth of the matter is no one received an invitation. It was only spread by social media. However, that doesn't mean that I don't regret that someone may have felt left out. So if people say I didn't get an invitation, please be quick to let them know that no one did. This was kind of a grassroots thing. But we are planning a ribbon cutting in December, and that will be event that comes with invitations, and we're gonna invite many people to attend, which will be a fantastic ceremony, the ribbon cutting for our Publix. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you so much, and I want to extend my gratitude to staff. I was the cause of needing to shift the date around a little bit for some family reasons, and everybody was so flexible and kind about it, and I just appreciated it. So, well, with that, we'll go to Madam Attorney.
Just briefly, a reminder for anyone who is qualifying for the next election that your Form 6 will be due. Part of your Form 6 is the ethics training. If you have not already received your certificate, if you have not watched the video, please reach out to us. We can send you the video again, watch it, let us know that you've watched it, and we'll give you your certificate. That's part of what you'll need for your Form 6. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
And next year, I'm boycotting Folds and Walker Ethics because I was promised ribs. And there was just pulled pork. There were no ribs. Man, thank you, Madam Attorney. Madam Clerk? Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Clark?
Really just the same thing, you want to say, we got a lot going on in this world. We've lost some SEALs doing things over there on the other side of the world, so we sleep under the benefit of what they do for us. So God bless our troops, and maybe get us stuff home, get them done, and get it home.
I was sad to hear about the SEALs. Commissioner Farnsworth?
No.
Commissioner Martin? I have one comment that I was actually prepared to make 2 or 3 meetings ago, and I just keep slipping my mind. But I think that we are ready to move forward with the creation of a Newberry Historic Society as an official board. I've talked to each of you about this, but it's probably been some time ago. But now I think we are ready. So I've talked to the clerk's office about a resolution to create that body formally and officially. So I want to let you know that's coming for your consideration. But I do believe that as Newberry grows, one of our answers to that growth in terms of keeping our historic past is to let's go ahead and officially identify some people charged with preserving that past and creating some materials that we could pass out to the elementary school teachers to teach our kids about the community that a whole lot of people want to join. We want them to join us, but we want them to know who we are, where we come from, what we value. And so I'm excited to be able to say to folks that we will create our own historic society and work to preserve historic houses, work to preserve historic buildings, and work to just teach those kids about it. So with y'all's blessing, I'll ask the clerk to draft that resolution and bring it back for y'all's review. Commissioner Martin.
Oh, I appreciate you letting me come back to the, I just wanted to just really kind of express my appreciation to the staff, Mike, on really kind of majoring in the minors. I've just kind of recently just kind of taken note of some of the little things that we've been doing. And even as fast-paced as we are and as much as we try to put on y'all, it's good when you see the little things. I mean, just looking through the bills and everything, I mean, just even having the receipts for some of the smallest stuff accounted for is great. Little things like the sign, all that stuff is really good. Thank you.
Agreed. Yep. All right, that's it for me. Public comment. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Hang on, did want to say that, let me pull this up so I get it right. The property appraiser is in the midst of their pop-up here at the Mentally Norfleet Municipal Building. That is going to run to February 2nd, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Apparently, we had a lot of folks take advantage of that today. So right here in the municipal building next to City Hall, through February 2nd, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can go straight there and get all your questions about property appraiser answered. That was it. There we go. Always have something I forget. Thank you for catching that. Last chance, Miss Peggy.
No, I'm good. Y'all got a nice short meeting. I love it.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.